Hi there, and welcome to the Brimstone Coaching Podcast. My name is Chris Godfredson. I'm a co-founder and coach here at the Brimstone Coaching Group, and I'm in the space today with my co-founder, partner, Kurt Busch. Good to see you, as always, Kurt.
Yeah, you too, Chris.
What are you thinking about today? Are you looking forward to the conversation, or?
That feels like a catch 22 you just put me in there.
Well, I'm doing what I can
Yeah,
right out of
And
the gate.
and you asked two questions. What are you
I
thinking and are you,
did.
are you looking forward to? I'm gonna say yes, I am looking forward to it, but I'm gonna leave the first question to you.
Yeah, I didn't ask what are you thinking about, and let's talk. So the conversation today, I think, is something that I've been thinking about. And I mean, it's around a topic and a thought anyway that we give some consideration to and some verbal time to now and then. And for me, I would say it's the idea of meaning making. Now, this is how I've been thinking about the way we make sense of the world. And when I'm done sharing this thought, then I'll let you steer the conversation however you want, because you are normally in the driver's seat. So here we go. Uh, I'm reading a book. Like, I'm fascinated by the brain, and for those who know me, uh, probably the best, they're like, science. You're enjoying science, yes. So I'm fascinated by the brain, and in particular, one neuroscientist, a guy named David Eagleman. He writes and communicates in a way that I'm starting to have some understanding of the
Hmm.
way our brains work. And so he wrote a book, it's probably a decade ago or so, called The Brain, The Story of You. And I'm loosely paraphrasing a part of what I'm reading because as I'm reading, I'm fascinated by what he has to say. And so the the idea here is that Eagleman would say our brains make assumptions
Hmm.
about what we are seeing in the world, the things that we see, based on our internal models, the way our brain makes sense of stuff,
Hmm.
and that internal model and the assumptions we make are built up from years of experiences. So every experience that you've ever had, that I've ever had, leads or contributes to that internal model of our brain. And one of the more fascinating anecdotes that he shared was uh, that of a guy who was blind. I think he was born blind, if I remember correctly. He was born
Hmm.
blind. That's what we'll go with for now. And for 40 years, he was blind. And then he had a procedure where he could see. And so the TV cameras were there, his kids were there who he had never seen. And so when uh, the bandages were taken off and the procedure was done, uh, they did not get the responses that they anticipated, because what was true for this guy is, like, he had seen, air quotes, he had had
Yeah.
vision all his life. He knew how to make his way around in the world. He was even a skier, like a prolific skier, downhill or some
Just
type of,
wild.
right? I mean, but he, by way of hearing things, he knew how to navigate the world. So, like, all of his other senses played a part in uh, navigating the world.
Yeah.
And so I find this fascinating from a human perspective, from a leadership perspective, that uh, like, even when he had vision, like, he didn't really know what he was seeing because he wasn't experiencing it. He didn't have that experience. And so, like,
Yeah.
for him, it was hearing, it was touching, it was feeling his way through the world. And so, like, when I think about it, and I think about meaning making, and I think about conflict and relationships and
Mhm.
all of these things, like, the thing that's alive in me is, I wonder how often we have all of the information that we need to be able to say that we see something, or that we can make sense of
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
What do you want to say about that? Is this a whack-a-mole pod today, or?
I mean, it can be.
Yeah. That'd be fun.
I think I have a curiosity.
Hmm.
Um, I have something I'm curious about, and I'm going to ask it to both of us. And I don't
Mm.
know that David Eagleman answered this. I don't know that you answered this or can answer. I don't know that I can
Hmm.
answer it.
Right.
But we do talk about meaning making and assigning meaning to things so that we can understand the world. I
Yeah.
don't I guess what I'm curious about, and maybe Eagleman can answer this, is like why do we do this and why do we have the need for this? Is this like I have to have an understanding, like my human brain just has to have an understanding and put pieces together, like my lizard brain, if you will, just needs to kind of like make sense? Or
Sure.
is this like I have to know what to make of that experience so that I can be safe? Is it a little bit of all of it? I mean, does
Yeah.
Eagleman get into that? Or do you have any thoughts?
I'm not deep enough into what Eagleman would say about the brain
Yeah.
and its, nor am I near sharp enough or well versed enough. Here's one thing that I would say about that though. I think that all humans have really three biological needs: safety and security,
Mm,
esteem and affection, and power and control.
mm,
And so if any of those things are lacking,
mm.
what I think about that is, and the leap that I'm willing to make in a podcast that I don't know that anybody's ever going to go check with neuroscientists. The leap that I'm willing to make is that I think that because we have this deep biological need for safety, that the brain knows when something is amiss, and then that fires all kinds of chemicals into the body that says danger, stop, don't do that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and and so, but we often don't see or sense the problem. We don't know where it's coming from because we don't have complete information. So, but
Yeah.
I do think that we have this deep need. So we use the language like this. We have a deep need for the experience of safety.
Mm.
And what makes you feel safe and what makes me feel safe may not be the same thing, right? But if
Yeah.
we aren't safe, boom, we fall down a cliff, and now we're scratching and clawing trying to get our way back up so that we can feel that. and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so, like, when our internal model in our brain says, this is what it is like for Chris to experience safety or for Kurt to experience safety, when those things are out of alignment or they're off kilter, then the brain gets to work,
Yeah.
and it tells our body, or our spirit even, it tells us to respond in kind so that
Yeah.
we can get back to feeling as though we're safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's fascinating, right? And so all of the ways in which, and this is where I think it's really for us as we think about the way in which we navigate the world, understanding our prior experiences have a direct impact on the way that we show up in the world today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if we aren't feeling safe, if that need is not met in real time, then um, what do we do and how do we make sense of it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I would have answered it the same way. I know the brain far less than you do. And I know you're not a neuroscientist, but I know that you read a lot about the brain. I read zero about the brain, and that's not
and,
self-deprecating.
and what that means is that you know just as much as I do, and I read about it.
I think anecdotally, what I would say is that what I experience is the meaning I assign to things is so that I know how to respond to them next time,
Mhm.
so that I can anticipate a danger or anticipate a risk or anticipate what I need to be safe.
Yeah.
Um, I'm trying to think of a real-time example, but my wife and I Dutch danced last week, and we're standing. Yeah, I know you're gonna laugh.
No, I'm not. I just
Okay,
smiled.
I so we're standing in the street on a Saturday, and it's lined with, thousands of people, at like it's packed downtown Orange
Yeah.
City. And my wife's like, I'm a little nervous. And what's true is like there's something about this experience of standing in front of people that stirs up something in her, and not, probably less in me because my
Yeah.
experiences are different.
Yep.
But I imagine that like, oh, I'm nervous is because she has assigned a meaning that being in front of people poses a threat, right?
Yes. Yep.
Um, Now to your point, that might not be the whole picture. It's a picture.
Yep.
It's a real picture, right? It's a
Yeah.
picture of something that did happen, or a meaning of something that did happen. Might not be the only or the most accurate picture, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, well, keep going on that.
No, that's really good. I mean, so one of the things that Eagleman talks about is he's saying that a lot of times, as it relates to our internal models, like um, the brain guesses at what's
Mm,
out there based on what the brain knows,
yeah, yeah,
and and then transmits that to the visual cortex at the thalamus, and but all of the other senses are necessary to understand what it is that you're seeing or experiencing.
yeah,
Can I share a story about that?
yeah.
I don't know that I've ever shared this story before, but I was in front of a large group of people. I was presenting some content, and all of a sudden I noticed that somebody was laughing.
Oh, oh,
I'm
my
like,
anxiety just rose.
yeah, this is not funny right now. I'm not
Yeah,
trying to be funny.
yeah.
And and but there have been times in my life, right, when somebody did laugh at me. Like uh, I've written some stuff recently about being I used to have to make change for customers years old, and
Mm,
when
yeah,
well, the reality of that is I didn't know how to make change for a guy, and then he laughed in my face.
yeah,
A 16-year-old.
yeah,
I guarantee you today he's probably not laughing in my face. Um, and I'm responding to that differently because I know how to handle that and how to manage it now.
yeah.
But when I'm presenting and I'm working the room and somebody's laughing, I'm like, oh, and then I do what I do, right? When something is stirred up in me. So all of these experiences are in my mind, they're in
Yeah,
my brain. And
yeah,
when I don't feel safe, I'm going to try to get back there. Or when I feel as though I'm out of control and I'm on record infinitum here that like I deeply resist being out of control
hmm,
or being controlled.
yeah,
So those deep biological needs are also a part of my internal model that uh, my brain makes meaning out of.
yeah.
And then the risk, right, is, and I don't know if I am now taking us down a tangent. I apologize for it, and you can pull us back rather quickly. The what I think is true about that then is I can villainize people.
Mm,
And
sure.
I see a world, and I live in a world where we villainize anybody that
Yeah, yeah.
disagrees or has a different understanding, a different experience of the things that are going on. And what I wonder about that is, do any of us have full details? Do any of us have all of the information that is available to us
Yeah.
in a world that is moving like light years at speed? And you have experiences that are different than mine. There probably is absolute truth on a couple of things.
Sure. Sure.
You and I we could get to that, but in
Yeah.
so many ways, there is so much difference, and we villainize everybody because our internal models are telling us things, and our brain is guessing at what's
Yeah.
happening
Yeah.
to help keep us safe.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know that you're off track. I think what I would say is that you're going to villainize. That is your sort of response to this
Yeah,
feeling of like I have access to what I have, right? So that I can make the meaning that I'm gonna make. And in absence of all the information, you will villainize, is what I just heard you
Hmm.
say.
Yeah.
Whereas in absence of all the information, I'm going to withdraw or run away,
Mm.
right, to
Yep.
avoid.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
move against and
yeah,
you move away.
yeah.
Yeah,
Which neither of those is I'm going to get more information, right?
exactly. It's an anxious response.
Yes, yes. So I wonder if I can circle back and just be really
Yeah.
explicit with your example of the person laughing. So to connect it back to the Eagleman stuff at the beginning, you see someone laughing, your brain makes the meaning or makes the association or makes the understanding that person is laughing at you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, which could be true.
Could be
Um,
true.
it could be true. It could be false.
Could also
Uh,
be false.
but our brains do what they do with the information that they have, and
Yeah.
obviously, like you're presenting content, you can't stop in the moment and be like,
Yeah.
hey, my guy, what are you laughing at down there? You
Exactly.
know,
What is that? Yeah. What are you doing
so
right now? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So there
No.
are some cases where like getting information in real time is just not going to be possible,
Right.
but I think I'm present to the fact that you're going again, moving against, and my moving away are responses that are not increasing the information that our brains have to
Yes.
make the appropriate meaning.
Yeah. Nor is it reframing prior meaning. Right.
Yeah, yeah. It just
So,
keeps it in place, right?
yeah, it just stays there. And so
Hmm.
there's no adjustment. And we believe, and I neuroscience would bear out that uh, the brain, even in 50-year-olds like me, is capable of taking in and maintaining and holding new information
Yeah,
as a way of replacing prior information. And I think that that is incredibly valuable, which I also believe makes the transformational journey so necessary. So all of those things that make up the internal model that has us showing up in the world the way that we do, uh, sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's right and good. And other times it's like,
yeah,
oh, no. And I did that thing and now I don't feel safe. And, and we can reframe, we can help rewire
yeah,
our brains in such a way that we respond in ways that are truer to who we really are and want to be.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Where does this where does this intersect with the conversation around like healthy intentional leadership development?
Mm,
Like, why is this so important for someone who's leading a team or leading an organization? Like, why is this so vital?
that's a great question. I wonder how you would answer that question.
I'm not sure if you know how questions work, Chris, but
Okay. Yeah, I know. I always answer, I try to answer questions with questions. Well, let me take a swing at it. I think that this is such a necessary and vital conversation because if we don't equip leaders to understand who and how they are and why they do the things they do, if they don't understand their own internal models, and we don't have any understanding of what their internal models are as leaders,
yeah,
like we're not going to get the results or the productivity or have the relationships that we want to have, both with our staff, our team, whatever,
yeah,
and with our customer base.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, I think that's the way I would answer it. How would you answer it?
yeah. I mean, I think I would essentially say the same thing. I mean, I think if I'm thinking about myself as a leader, like I want to be able to make the best decisions from my best thinking with all the information that's as accurate as possible.
Yep.
Like I mean, I like how you talk about relationships. My brain doesn't immediately go to relationships. My brain kind of goes to processes and decision making. But I think you're
Yeah.
right. I think our organizations will interact in the most fruitful way, and not in a transactional way, but in a most fruitful way when we can engage with customers and staff in true, authentic, honest ways
Hmm.
that are that in which we're seeking to understand what's really so.
Yeah, I
If
love
that
that.
makes sense.
I do love that. And I think what I would say, what I would add to that, or what I would say in response to that is I believe that processes, productivity, all those things are connected to relationships. And so
Yeah. Yeah.
when processes are out of whack, and we have an internal model of how this process should go,
Yeah.
and we infuse something else into it, and we
Yeah.
understand that every change changes everything. When that happens, or we bring somebody else into the system or the process, if there are questions, or if they had a prior experience in another plant or in another
Yeah.
company with a
Yeah.
similar process, like all of that is
Yeah.
informing the way they behave in it. And so
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that, yeah, really, I think knowing ourselves, why we do what we do, and
Yeah.
knowing our team, knowing the leaders, the being clear when we hire people, being thoughtful about interviews and questions and such. And yeah, I
Yeah.
just I think it's so vital.
Yeah. Can I tell you a story?
Yeah.
I think I've told you this off pod, but I'm going to tell the story on pod. I'm going to change the name a little bit here. I've told you this before on the pod that I supervised a group of like 10 or 12 people in a process. And in that process, I had one person that worked for me. We're gonna call this person Billy. And Billy was less proficient in some of the technical aspects of the job, less proficient in some of the robotics kind of machinery areas,
Mm-hmm.
and Billy would make some mistakes, um, some costly. And I was responsible for Billy and for the process that Billy was doing. And I remember so clearly thinking, if I could just get rid of Billy, my life would be easier, my process would run smoother, and my leadership would be so much easier, and I'd be better. Um, well, Billy eventually was not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? When Billy left, there was another person who made some mistakes, and just because mistakes happen, right?
Yeah.
What I can look back on now and see is that my way of seeing the world, my mental model, my internal model was there has to be somebody doing something wrong who's responsible for this that I can just wish away. And if I could get rid of a person in this process, then life's going to be great. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Turns out that's not the case, but that's all my internal model would allow me to see. I was not thinking what else is going on in the process. I was not thinking what other factors are influencing how Billy works. What other factors influence Billy's mistake? Is there a machine failure? Is there all sorts of different things that my internal
Yeah.
model never let me see? And I wish I could go back and do that again
Sure.
because I can see so many mistakes in my thinking and so many things that would have like freed me up as
Yeah.
a leader to get better results.
Yep.
Um, I think as a leader, like the things that our brain builds as these internal models really do like, man, I
Yeah.
just think we have to look and look and look to make sure that they're accurate.
Yeah. Yeah. And if this was a coaching call, if you and I, if you were saying, "Hey, like I'm thinking about this," I think I would ask a question related to, well, you know, what early experience, what experience did you have
Yeah.
that led you to believe that if you could just get rid of somebody, that something would be different?
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
these are
Yeah.
the things to consider. Like
Yeah.
in all the things, like in
Yeah.
all the things I mean, you did come back to, you know, how how could I have, like led him or managed him better?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like there's so many things of, well, why did he do this and this and this and this and this and this? And yep, and for him, what was true for him as he had these experiences that contributed to the way he thought and processed stuff. But it's also true for us, right?
Yeah.
As the
Yeah.
leaders, we have to understand why. Okay, so if Billy left and somebody else is here and they're doing the same thing, well, I'm playing a part here.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Rats. And as
Yeah.
I'm playing a part, why am I what am I afraid of? Where am I stuck?
Yeah.
What don't I understand about process management or whatever, right? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
And maybe one of the, I mean, you taught me this early in our relationship, like long before Brimstone was ever even a twinkle
Mm.
in our eye.
I
I
like
think
how
one
you
of the
said
most,
that.
yeah, that's how my mom would say something
Yeah,
about me. Um,
love it.
I think one of the most common am I saying that right? Would that internal model, is
The
that the,
internal model. Yeah.
yeah, I
Yep.
think one of the most prominent internal models is there's something wrong. It has to be your fault. Or there's something wrong. You're to blame, not me. Right.
Yeah.
Or the internal model that says, gosh, I must be doing everything right. You must be the problem.
Mhm.
I think this might be one of the most prominent ones, and maybe even one of the most important ones to start to break down and get all the information on.
Yeah.
Um, and now I'm present to that I'm rattling, and we need to take a little break.
Okay.
Let's take a little break. We'll come back and finish up that conversation. Is that okay?
Sounds good.
What if the biggest thing holding you back isn't the challenge in front of you, but the promises that you've made to yourself? At Brimstone Coaching Group, we help teams, businesses, and organizations break through hidden barriers in our Promises Workshop. This is a hands on experience that helps you and your team identify and replace self limiting beliefs with purposeful promises that foster growth, confidence, and resilience. You can bring this powerful workshop to your company, nonprofit, or leadership team and start creating a culture of trust, collaboration, and transformation. Visit brimstonecoachinggroup.com to learn more.
Welcome back to the Brimstone Coaching Podcast. Chris Godfredson here with Kurt Busch. And today we're talking about the brain. It's fun and it's exciting and,
Title.
and rather amazing. It's remarkable. And so we're talking about like when we see something, we might not see everything. Or chances are we never see everything.
Yep.
And so we're talking about internal models. And David Eagleman, in his book, The Brain, The Story of You, uh, defines it this way. He says that the brain generates its own reality, even before it receives information
Mm,
coming in from our eyes and the other senses. This is the internal model. So as we think about that, like it is powerful, the brain. And in our vernacular, the brain is a meaning making machine.
yeah.
And it's sending out, like stuff is being sent out into the body, and the body is responding before it even makes sense of it. So,
Yeah.
anyway, for whatever that's worth, that was free.
That's- you don't
You're
have to buy
welcome.
the book now, listener.
Well, you should buy,
You should buy the
we
book.
should all understand our story better. Yeah.
Yep, yep. So I'm going to ask you a question, Chris.
Mhm.
Can I take an opposition or devil's advocate position here for just a second?
We, yeah, sure.
I am a bit of a debater in the right circumstances, so I'm going to put
That's
my
good.
debate hat on just for a second.
Sweet.
Your story about the skier who could see for the first time, and
Yeah.
I don't remember if you said the word disappointed, but was
Well,
what he was not seeing what he thought he would see. He was
yeah.
not seeing it in the same way he thought he would.
Yep.
Um, that stirred up a story in me. I have a 12-year-old daughter who is reading through the Twilight book series. And I think she's on the last one, and she loves them.
Yeah.
Absolutely loves them. Well, for the listener, if you don't know this, these are also movies. I've never read the book, I've never seen the movie, so I can't speak to the crossover, but my daughter watched the first movie and she
Yeah.
said, "This is bad. This isn't
Yeah.
nearly as good as
Yeah.
as the picture I painted in my head. Like the
Mhm.
characters didn't look like I thought they would look. The scene didn't like the picture that she painted in her head reading the book was better than the movie.
Yep.
So here's the opposition debate or the question or the devil's advocate. If that's true, if the book is better than the movie because our brain paints a better picture than the movie does, or we like the picture better. Um, or if I'm the skier and I get my sight back and I go, oh man, this is not what I was envisioning. Um, is not the takeaway here, is not the lesson, don't look because I don't want to be disappointed, right? Like
That's it. That's a takeaway.
that is a takeaway. Don't
That's
watch movies.
yeah, right. That's one, right? And uh, I think there's a couple things where I want to push or
Yeah,
make my case for engaging in the looking.
yeah,
One is like maybe there's other ways of considering what it is we think we see. Maybe we should be paying attention to some other things, like our
yeah,
senses, our other senses. What what do our ears tell us? What does touch and feel, and
yeah,
what do those things communicate to us?
yeah,
And the thing that I think I would say is is there anything wrong with actually seeking out more information? So,
yeah,
uh, yeah, I mean, I would think that most people who read books and then read or then watch a movie would say the book is better.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's more of a critique on the filmmaker and
right.
their lack of creativity, perhaps, or
Yeah,
the power of our brains
yeah,
and the way that they uh, and the stuff that's alive in us as individual human beings where boy I envision that way more beautifully and detailed than this was.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
uh, I think that's the marvel of humanity, and but I don't think there's anything wrong. I want to know, I want more information. Like,
yeah.
what would you say to your own question? How would you answer it?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple things jump out. I mean, I think you're right. Like, what I think assuming, not assuming, I think saying I'm not going to watch the movie because I like the book better. I know I paint a better picture. I think then we do miss out on like acting skills and directing skills and
Yeah,
cinematography. Like in that example, there are so many other things other than just the picture that we see with our eyes, right?
yeah,
So I mean, I think to your point, I think there is some assumption even in my question that, well, the picture I'm painting is the best or the most accurate, like, which is
yep,
another human thing we do is to assume the meaning I make or the things I think are probably right or best.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, I think that's probably one flaw I would point out is that
yep,
if I say I like the books better, I'm never going to watch the movie. Okay, I mean, what if the movie is better? You know, like
sure.
there is a chance of discovery
Mm,
that not a chance there is discovery, but I think for me, I think I would rather risk seeking and discovering and not finding what I thought I was going to find or be slightly disappointed by the movie to use that analogy. I'd risk that because the other is so much better, right? Like
yeah,
finding a more accurate picture, finding something that's truer, like that to me is worth the risk of going down a path that might not paint the right picture right away, if that makes sense.
sure.
That's maybe convoluted.
Well, I don't know. Let me put this into the ether and see what you get. I mean, I don't know that it's any different than sitting around a boardroom table and another person uh, hearing something differently or thinking differently than I do.
Yeah.
And let me make the connection. So Ella has what, 12 years worth of life experiences
Hmm.
that help inform the internal model that makes sense of what's the series again
Twilight.
that she, yeah, the Twilight series, that makes sense of that in her mind, right? The the movie makers have their own set of experiences. The
Yeah.
author has their
Yeah.
own sense of experiences, and so they bring that to the creative thing that makes the movie. And
Yeah.
maybe it's not terrible. Maybe it's just different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And can it be different?
Yeah.
And I still be okay? And here's my point. Can can you and I be sitting in a meeting with each other because we're the only two brimstone coaching people at the moment? Can we be sitting in a meeting in a conversation and see something differently
Yeah.
and not think, well, boy, I'm sure dumb. Kurt's always smarter than me.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's true. I think that's true. I think, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to land before you want to land, but I think I'm just really struck by the idea that I as a leader, you as a leader, our listeners as leaders have the opportunity to do a little bit of work to get a better understanding of the world around us so that we can make the right meaning,
yeah, yep.
you know?
I think to understand ourselves is the way I would say it is to understand ourselves as clearly as we can so that when we take in additional information or we're asked to do something that we haven't not done before, that as we try to navigate our way through the world, that uh, we have some grasp on this is what I typically do
Yeah.
when I experience a lack of or a void in esteem and affection, power and
Yeah.
control,
Yeah.
safety and security, so
Yeah.
that we're able to be the best versions of ourselves
Yeah.
as much of the time as is humanly possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if we were on a coaching call or if we had more time,
Uh-oh.
we would ask questions like what keeps you from understanding that situation or understanding
Yeah.
yourself in that situation or
Yeah.
what keeps you from seeking to find other ways
Mm,
to think about the situation or the
yeah.
picture.
What
Like
other things are possible about
yes.
what you are, what you're seeing and understanding about the movie versus the book,
Yes.
Ella? Right. I mean,
What other way can you think about a person laughing, like those sorts
yes.
of, like what are some other possibilities? Like those are the
Yep.
directions I would go if we had more time or
Yeah, that's really
if
good.
we were coaching each other.
Yeah. So what if somebody wanted to say, "Hey, like this is fascinating to me, and I need some help thinking about the way I navigate the world. Where should they go? What should they do?"
Yeah, I mean I would say first that if a person is experiencing what you just said, I mean I think you said it so great. Like I could use some help navigating the world and I think that's such a common thing and there's no shame in feeling it.
Mm,
Um, we live in a weird time where
yeah, we do.
the pace is fast. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of distractions. So for you, listener, to say, I could use someone to ask me some questions about how I'm navigating these things is absolutely normal. This is not a sign of bad leadership. This is actually a sign of really, really healthy leadership to say I could use someone to help me hold up a mirror to how I'm doing
Yeah.
these things. Um, so if a person wants to do that with us, they
Hmm.
can go to our website at brimstonecoachinggroup.com. There is a button that says schedule a free consultation. They can do that with either you or I, which is a 20-minute inquiry call just to see if we might be a good fit for what they're trying to navigate and if they might be a good fit for what we can help them navigate.
Yep.
And then after that 20-minute call, we do help groups with coaching. We also do one-on-one coaching, but that free 20-minute call is the really the place to start.
Yeah. So click one of those buttons today, and we look forward to getting the opportunity to work with you soon. And I imagine that there will be an episode 28 of the Brimstone Coaching Podcast at some point, correct? This was number 27.
There will, yes.
Yeah, great. I can't wait for that conversation.
Same. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, Kurt.